Senegal's new leader, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has taken office with a promise to bring about systemic change and improve the country. Faye, at 44 years old, is Africa's youngest elected president and has quickly risen from being a political prisoner to the presidency. Faye ran on a platform of cleaning up corruption and improving the management of the nation's natural riches to address the concerns of Senegalese youth regarding widespread unemployment and the influence of former colonial master France. People have viewed his election triumph as a sign of the people's will and desire for change. Has he already begun with the change that was needed? Before we answer this question, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the new Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we have something new on Senegal or its newly elected president. Yes, President Faye has already begun with the change that was needed. In a recent turn of events, Senegal's new leader Bassirou Diomaye Faye called for a rethought relationship with the European Union during a visit by European Council President Charles Michel. April 2 marked Faye's inauguration as president. He was elected on a platform of drastic change and the restoration of national sovereignty over important sectors. The collaboration between Senegal and Europe, according to Faye, is dense and multifaceted, but he wants a rethought, renovated partnership, one that is capable of supporting the innovative dynamic they want to imprint on their relations. He said this during a joint press conference with Michel on Monday, April 22. Senegal currently enjoys special trade facilitation and trade integration measures in addition to a preferential trading system with the EU. The everything but arms system, the most advantageous regime under the European Generalized System of Preferences, allows Senegalese exports to the EU to be duty-free and subject to no volume restrictions. Furthermore, a sustainable fisheries partnership agreement between Senegal and the EU was established in November 2014 and is updated every 2 years by protocols. We are going to talk more about this fishing partnership later in the video. The goal of Senegal's new government's reforms is to reduce the nation's dependency on foreign governments, especially France, and increase national ownership of its resources. The finance minister has stated that Senegal wants to break free from ties of reliance in its public policies, while simultaneously pursuing stronger bilateral and multilateral ties. Senegal is a member of the West African Economic and Monetary Union, which the government also hopes to acquire greater autonomy for its central bank. There could be potential effects from Senegal and the EU reestablishing their ties. It implies that Senegal wishes to reshape its relationship with the EU, possibly in search of better economic conditions or new opportunities for collaboration. A desire for more control over financial resources and decision-making procedures may be shown by the emphasis on regaining national sovereignty over important industries. Furthermore, Senegal's objective of improving its own governance and economic policies and minimizing its reliance on foreign governments is in line with the drive for reforms and autonomy. How will this rethought impact trade agreements? The impact of the reset on trade agreements will depend on the specific actions taken and policies implemented. Trade agreements lower trade barriers and create trade regulations to promote investment, trade, and the movement of products and services between nations. They can help consumers develop the economy and open doors for companies. Increased access to products, market competition, economies of scale, and innovation are some advantages of free trade agreements. A reset could result in the negotiation of new trade agreements and a review of current ones. The parties' own objectives and priorities will determine how the reset affects trade agreements. In order to address issues or priorities, it can entail reviewing current agreements, starting new discussions, or changing current agreements. Take note that Faye has declared the renegotiation of oil and gas contracts as part of his promised changes, and he intends to do the same with fishing agreements made with the European Union. Early this month, Senegal's newly appointed Minister of Mines and Energy declared that the government would renegotiate mining, oil, and gas contracts should a promised audit be completed. The strategy is in contrast to Macky Sall, Faye's predecessor, who had a more investor-friendly stance but was unable to reduce Senegal's rising cost of living or generate enough jobs through his ambitious infrastructure-focused plan. However, politicians and business analysts have advised Senegal's new president against renegotiating the mining and oil contracts. Senegal's former president, Macky Sall, even told a news agency that this decision to renegotiate mining contracts could come with consequences. Faye stated through his Energy and Mines Minister on April 11 that following the completion of the anticipated audit, the government would renegotiate contracts related to mining, oil, and gas if needed. The concern stems from the potential impact on investment and future partnerships. Some experts argue that the renegotiation could deter investors due to uncertainties and potential changes in the terms of the contracts. This could have implications for developing the oil and mining sectors in Senegal, but Faye is determined to see this go through. As part of his radical reform campaign, President Bassirou promised to prioritize the welfare of the local populace. This contract renegotiation aims to ensure that these sectors' benefits are distributed more equitably and positively impact the local community. It should be noted that soon after assuming office, Bassirou instructed his prime minister to draft an action plan with the immediate goal of supporting the country's failing finances and economy. It is worth noting that the implications of these negotiations could have significant effects on the oil and gas industry in Senegal and the country's plans to become an oil producer. The government wants to make sure that the contracts are in the best interests of the nation. However, the specifics of how the contracts will be restructured have not been disclosed. This may result in modifications to the contract's terms and conditions, revenue sharing, and other provisions. The renegotiation of oil and mining contracts in Senegal has been deemed risky due to potential barriers and uncertainty. Renegotiations include some inherent risks, despite the country's goals of maximizing economic gains and equitable resource distribution. The government needs to strike a careful balance because the mining and oil industries are unstable and contract negotiations are challenging. Bear in mind that fishing is also a significant part of Senegal's economy, but the industry is grappling with the effects of overexploitation of marine stocks. Under President Sall, Senegal's fish reserves were severely depleted by the government-approved industrial foreign trawlers from China and Europe, resulting in empty nets for artisanal fishermen. Fishermen claim that the scarcity also caused local fish prices to skyrocket. This might have a major impact on people's nutritional intakes, since seafood accounts for 40% of Senegalese people's animal protein diet. Note that unlicensed and illicit industrial fishing by foreign boats also costs Senegal about $272 million annually. There are rigorous guidelines governing what kinds of catch foreign vessels are permitted to fish for, and certain locations are off-limits to them. However, they frequently use illicit nets and turn off their satellite transponders to evade tracking. It is estimated that Senegal's fishing sector supports over 600,000 jobs and contributes around 1.8% of the country's GDP. Many livelihoods that depend on fishing, both directly and indirectly, are lost when there is a shortage of fish, and many fishermen decide to emigrate to other nations or conduct risky boat trips to Spain's Canary Islands. The UN Refugee Agency said that over 15,000 people had arrived in Spain in 2023. However, the new president wants to change the fate of fishermen. At the beginning of the month, Faye stated that he would be moving the 20-kilometer fishing zone designated for artisanal fishermen to block foreign vessels from accessing it. Additionally, he declared his intention to create and carry out a national plan for the management and immersion of artificial reefs, an endeavor to restore marine environments and ecosystems that have been harmed by numerous detrimental industrial and artisanal fishing methods. Faye also signed a charter for sustainable fishing prior to the election with other candidates. The charter was put forth by Senegal's National Coalition for Sustainable Fishing and backed by Greenpeace during the election campaign. It contained a pledge to supervise sub-regional stock management, audit a fishing agreement with the European Union, and give the fishing industry a share of the money made from oil and gas extraction. Senegal renewed a fishing deal with the EU under Macky Sall's administration. The agreement had been in place since 1979 and has been extended every 5 years. The deal gives European vessels access to fish in Senegalese waters and exports that catch back home in exchange for $863,000. Additionally, Senegal receives funding from the EU totaling $970,000 to support artisanal fishing, strengthen stocktaking capacities, advance data collection and research in the fisheries industry, and certify the safety of seafood products. But the deal has been controversial. While most fishing agreements have a transparency clause regarding how much fish is exported by European vessels, the EU-Senegal deal does not. While the EU invests in the artisanal fishing industry and fishing governance, fishermen have argued that if there are no fish to catch, there is no point in these investments. Faye ran on a platform to restructure Senegal's natural resource export agreements with foreign nations and give attention to artisanal fishermen who felt they were not consulted prior to these contracts being signed by the previous government, as he considered this to be one of the main grievances Senegalese had with the previous administration. This is one of the main reasons why Bassirou has called for a rethought relationship with the European Union. By pushing for a reset of ties, Senegal's new leader recognizes the importance of fostering positive relationships with international partners. This strategic move not only opens up opportunities for economic growth and development, but also enhances Senegal's standing on the global stage. Do you think this move paves the way for a more fruitful and balanced partnership, where both parties can work together to address common challenges? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the new Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.